Hello, everyone. We are here today for a special segment. I'm really excited to be with Sam to talk about the summit that's coming up. If you haven't heard about it, I'm really hoping today is an exciting moment for you, just like it is for me, to be able to talk about the summit and talk about how it's not only an amazing, diverse plate of speakers, over 20 speakers, but also because we have the person, the brains, the energy behind the summit with us here today. I'm excited to give you a little bit of an inside scoop on what to expect. I know many of us have been going to summits and doing a lot of things virtually these days, so we're picking and choosing where we spend our time. And what I'm hoping today is maybe I can convince you that this is a summit that you definitely want to make sure you attend. This is a summit that can really help you not only transform your life, but maybe even give you some ideas, open up your perspective, or help you through some of these challenging times we've been having. It's been a lot of ups and downs. It's been a lot of really change that we've all been going through. So I think it's wonderful to attend summits like this, especially the Raw Food Health Empowerment Summit, because it can sometimes help us, get our perspectives back on track. It can help us maybe achieve a goal that we've been planning to do, but we've been putting it off. And it can also help us get information directly from experts. So I'm really excited about today's discussion. I'm really glad we have Sam with us today. And I'm really glad many of you are going to be watching this and with us. So I'm hoping this session's coming to you early enough so you can sign up and be ready when the summit starts. So, Sam, thank you so much for joining me and doing this special segment with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Perfect. So let's give everyone a little bit of background. Let's make sure we get everyone a little bit grounded as we get started here and help them understand well, maybe before we get into the summit, let's give everyone a little bit of background about yourself and what you've been doing. Because, I know you as an amazing podcaster and as a community builder, but I want to make sure everyone kind of gets a flavor of who you are and your expertise, and then we'll dive into the summit.
Yeah, so I'm Samantha Salmon, certified integrative nutrition coach, and I coach folks who are looking to increase their energy, release excess fat, and reverse type 2 diabetes. And I've helped my clients do all of these things with a high, raw, whole food, vegan diet. And that was really the inspiration with this summit, is kind of turning folks' eyes towards what actual health looks like, what a healthy eating and lifestyle, because it's actually more than just the food, which is why we have 3 days with three different themes within this summit. Um, just pointing people towards what health actually looks like, what health and wellness looks like, how you can thrive and not just survive in this life. And so I'm super excited for people to see it. You're one of the guest speakers on day 3 talking about how to turn your passion into a career. And that has been my journey. As a college student, my first year in college, I, watched my grandma die at home on hospice care due to complications from type 2 diabetes. She had a very long, slow, painful death. And it really triggered something in me. Like, food is not worth this type of pain. Not only, watching and hearing someone that you love so dearly go through excruciating pain and trauma. It's traumatic for you, but also she did not get to see me graduate from my dream school, and the damage it did to our family. Like, my family's from Jamaica, West Indies. We have a large family. She had 8 children. All those
Wow.
children had spouses and kids, right? So we had huge family gatherings. Her passing really disrupted our entire family for a long time. And so that's, why I wrote my book, You Can Afford to Be Healthy. And I opened a raw vegan food establishment in Chicago. We had 2 locations going. And I've really been on this path, on this mission, trying to, educate folks and bring some awareness that every time we have a meal, right, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks in between, we are making choices that
Yeah.
affect our life and how we are, experiencing this life right now. And for example, like my my dad always likes to say, you're going to die. Everyone's going to die at some point or whatever, and it's like, it's true, right?
Yes.
I'm not telling you that eating fruits and vegetables is going to mean you're going to have immortality. But what I'm saying is that you don't really have to suffer. You understand? You don't have to curb your life expectancy 20 years because food is not worth it. You know what I'm saying? Food is
Yeah,
not worth it. And
absolutely.
there's delicious meals that can be had from healthy ingredients. Most of the speakers on this summit have free meal plans and recipes and stuff for people to dive in and get their toe dipped into the raw vegan waters. You know what I'm saying? So they can try it out for themselves and experience that. And if we can get more folks into the lifestyle and they feel passionate enough about it to create the restaurants that folks need so they have access to healthy foods, create the farmers markets. We have a veganic farmer on the summit as well, talking about veganic growing. Create the foods, the healthy foods we need to live a healthy life. To not have so many deaths and things. We've been going through a traumatic experience globally for the past year and a half with this COVID situation, where the folks that are dying of preventable. They have underlying conditions, these comorbidities that are preventable with lifestyle changes, mostly due to diet, right? And so
Yeah.
this is where the focus and the passion and the mission. I'm on a personal mission to eradicate type 2 diabetes in this country. And creating a culture of health is part of that, which is why I ask every single one of my speakers on the summit, what do you think is needed to create a culture of health? And it's been super inspiring for me, this journey, putting this summit together, hearing everyone's responses. And I'm excited about everyone coming to the summit and listening and what it's going to spark in them.
That is, first off, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for letting us know about your journey because, some of these journeys we've been on, for many of us, they're painful. They're things that we've had to live through. And I even think maybe someone who's listening today, maybe going through something similar. So I'm so glad that you shared that with us. And also, I think there's so much opportunity out there, just like you were saying, for us to make these changes, to actually choose different items on our plates, to actually turn food into an intentional act as opposed to something we do, while we're watching TV, while we're doing this, we're just gobbling things down, and we're just getting it done, as opposed to really understanding that it fuels us and it fuels our life and it fuels our experience of our life. I think, like you said about, everyone dies. Yes, but how that happens, what that process is, how we walk our way towards it, can be different based on our actions. And I'm so excited when summits come along to address these kind of challenges and maybe make people think differently because it can change the trajectory for a lot of communities. It can change the trajectory for a lot of even communities of color that maybe haven't even had this information in front of them, or have access to speakers that look like them, that have
That
lives
part.
like them. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's so important. I think that's one reason I'm really, really excited about your summit is because of the diverse voices that you're bringing to the table. And we don't always see that in a lot of the traditional summits out there.
Yep. I have been in spaces, especially doing food policy work, which I find is so critical. I think the folks working on food policy need this education about what actual healthy eating looks like so that we can make that more accessible to the folks that need it most, right? And we're
Yeah.
talking about our communities, Black and Brown communities, right? 1 out of every 5 Black households lives in a food desert. This is by McKinsey Consulting, right? So it's important for us to be educated and aware. And then beyond that, I've been in these spaces where folks are saying, veganism is so wide. And will they actually, if we bring healthy foods into the community, will they actually want the food? And it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
My people want health. What you mean? You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they come into me, they're saying, I have excess fat to lose. I have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Help me. I know they want the healing, and the healing is in the food, right? And we can meet them halfway with accessibility, right?
Mhm.
But we have to have the information and education first to know what that food is. Like I'm in spaces where, community development spaces where folks have good intentions and they're promoting hot dogs. Dude,
Mm.
did you not
Yeah.
get the memo from the World Health Organization? This is carcinogenic. We cannot have people that look like us selling us trash. Like, I have a huge problem with celebrities, doing endorsements for Pepsi and all of these kinds of things. And yes, some of these things could be vegan, but they're not going to help us thrive in this life. The foods that we eat actually affect our mood. It affects our mental capacity. It affects our opportunity for wealth building. Like, I have family members who are spending $300 a month on medication. This is after insurance. All
Yeah.
right. That adds up. If
Yes.
I were to take that money and invest it in some stocks or new business, you know what I'm saying? How much
Mhm.
wealthier I could be, and have assets to pass on to the next
Yes, that's what I
generation.
was gonna say. Yep, it creates that
Yes,
legacy, it
generational
creates
wealth
that
building.
wealth. Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. So it's important on all fronts.
Absolutely. Now, do you feel for a lot of people, even when I start the conversation about veganism or we start talking about raw foods, there's sometimes some resistance. There's some hesitation. Now, some of that is just hesitation to any change that many of us just struggle with. But
Mhm.
how do you make sure that all communities feel like it's within reach? Like you mentioned, that accessibility, and how do we overcome, or maybe not even overcomes the right word, but how do we make sure that the recipes are inclusive, that the flavor profiles are inclusive? Because that's one thing that I think I even struggled with when I first went vegan, is that some of the things that I was used to kind of eating and tasting, not just the physical products, but the flavor and taste, just weren't present in a lot of the options when it came to the vegan foods I was eating.
Yeah. And so that's why we have a variety of speakers on the summit with different meal plans and recipes that worked for them. One that comes to mind as you're speaking is the Spirit Doctor, who created a recipe book, a raw vegan recipe book, on how she lost 70 pounds. She was 300 pounds, lost 70 pounds
Wow.
eating raw vegan comfort foods. So she made her versions of burgers and pizzas and tacos and all these things, healthy ingredients, with herbs and spices that she's used to from her, cultural background, to make it really taste flavorful. And so, I keep saying, like, this summit is a buffet, right? You take what you want and you leave the rest, right? You can, hopefully, that's the goal, is that everyone coming to the summit can see themselves in these speakers, in their stories, in their experiences, and can identify and use that as a starting point. Because obviously we're not all into the same things, right? Use that as a
Yeah.
starting point to just experiment in the kitchen, because regardless of whatever meals you're doing right now, in order to get it to a place that you really love and enjoy, you have to do some experimentation,
Yeah.
because there's
I-
texture profiles even that come into play with this. And so I think, like, her book for a lot of people will work really well. I really enjoy Matt's, content on there, talking about constipation and clearing out the colon. This part is super important. We have so many people in our community literally dying from colon cancer and issues with the colon. Most of it is due to the food choices, right? Meat,
yeah.
dairy, eggs. Now, when you're transitioning from that diet to a plant-rich diet, folks are having digestive issues with bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, all sorts of things. And you can literally have constipation manifest as diarrhea, which I think
Hmm.
a lot of people don't even know that.
Yeah.
And so his talk is really critical, because he's talking about how to clear out the colon, a variety of different ways. And so we take people through different processes, because this really is a health summit. It's a health focused, clean eating and healthy lifestyle. We're talking about menopause. We're talking about birthing, preparing the body for birth, the birthing process, and raising healthy children.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
just taking the vegan concept a little bit further, right? Because
Yes.
most of us are vegan for the animals, right? Humans are also animals, right?
Yeah.
We need to take care of our body, or else we will not be here and nor have the energy to continue to advocate for the things that we believe in. So
Absolutely.
hopefully this inspires us all, to improve, because we all have things to improve. Even myself, I have been vegan for 13 years, since 2008. I think I'm doing the math right. 13 years.
Yeah.
And there's even stuff for me to improve. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because there's always just something new to learn, something more to do. And we're living in a toxic environment where, you look around you, people are throwing burgers, fries, and chips in your face. Like, it's like you
Yeah.
can't
So
escape
easy to
it.
access it. Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and we
Yes.
most of us have been grown eating these things as children, and these foods are tied to memory. So
Hmm.
apart from the fact that the fat, sugar, and salt, is addictive, it's tied to memory. So it's hard to really relinquish these cravings. So we're talking about that a lot on the summit, is how to overcome cravings for unhealthy foods. So it's a journey. It's a journey.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that it's a buffet. It's an opportunity for people to really pick the things that work for them or things that they're curious about or can open their minds. I also like the different types of topics they're covering because often in summits, you hear a lot of this is what we should do. And I know a lot of times we want the science behind it, we want all of that, and that's important. But we also have to talk about how do we live this way? How do we take that back into our homes? How do we translate that into everyday life? And being able to talk, like you said, about preparing your body for birthing, all the way to the idea of menopause, the concepts are really about the challenges that we all kind of face and the things that are those kind of crossroads that we get to where we can make a major decision that can impact our health, that impacts our lifestyle moving forward, that even impacts, for many of us, our families. And the idea that you're bringing this knowledge to us, not just in a kind of academic standpoint, but bringing it to us in a perspective where you're talking about the problems and the challenges that we have, the things that we're sometimes suffering through that we don't necessarily maybe have to. And some of the things, like, I love that you're talking about constipation. Not everyone feels comfortable about it. And maybe it gives them some anxiety being like, oh, goodness, we're going to talk about something so private. But the idea is we have to stop keeping these conversations behind closed doors or being afraid to have these conversations because we can't have change in our community. We can't cure, we can't reverse, we can't make a difference if we're not willing to talk about things that are a little uncomfortable, maybe taboo at times, because we we can't move forward without some of those discussions and having some of those aha moments to say, you know what, I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm not going to live and suffer through this anymore, especially when there's a solution at hand and a solution that's affordable.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm doing a series of talks, in promotion of this summit. And later on today, I am doing a talk in the Vegans for Black Lives Matter Facebook group with Gwenna of Vegan Outreach. They
Yes.
have been doing produce giveaways. And this question actually came up from someone in my group. How do we do this with foods that we get from food security programs? And
Mm,
honestly, the raw vegan diet is I feel way more affordable than even a vegan diet, because we've read like the stories that have come out that the processed vegan foods in most of these places, all the stores, are more expensive than even like the meat, dairy, eggs, right? So
yeah.
what's the point of that? Like, why? you know
Yeah, it
but
shouldn't be.
yeah,
We got to
and
work
so
our way through that. But
yeah,
yeah.
we got to figure that out. So then there's that piece. But like, we are going back to basics, to actual whole foods. And I personally promote a high raw diet, which is even more affordable than a fully raw, right? Because fully raw, you're dealing with a lot of perishable stuff. And especially if you're looking to eat organic, and especially organic everything, it can get costly. But
Yeah.
eating high raw just means most of your calories are coming from raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, things like that.
Mhm.
And so you can actually manage your budget really well. I mean, I've been able to do it for the past 13 years, and I, don't have a ridiculous salary. Now, if you're below the poverty line, or something like that, that's where I talk about, like, this is where the government needs to come into play to support. And so the folks that are in charge of these programs, I would really love for them to tune in so that they can get the education on what actually can help our communities, the types of foods they need to be eating, so that, it helps all of us, actually, because we are bearing the financial burden for the sickness of what's happening in the country, like the sickness of the obesity crisis, the diabetes crisis. So beyond the fact that people want to be comfortable, they want to be healthy, and we want to serve their needs, there's also that, national, positive benefit for everyone that will actually save money, less emergency room visits and things of that nature. Because people are literally running to the hospital for chronic disease illness, which can be reversed with, food and lifestyle. So we're focusing on all of that. Now with the produce giveaways, these food security programs, you're getting different, fruits and vegetables and things to make salads, to make smoothies. And like I said, most of the summit speakers have meal plans. So you basically match them up with what you have and you do the best you can, right? And that's how you move forward. Like, you take as many steps as you can and just keep moving forward. It's progress over perfection. And I even have one person on the summit talking about perfectionism in the raw food movement, because this is a huge issue. You know what I'm saying?
It is. Yeah.
Because I'm about health and wellness, and perfectionism is not it. Perfectionism is so unhealthy for our mental and emotional state. Some folks are thinking that they'll go raw vegan and end up looking like, I don't know, Halle Berry or Angelina Jolie or something like that. That is not what this is about. Okay. Your body gets to a normal, natural, the normal size for itself, right?
Yes.
So if you have excess fat, you'll lose the excess fat. If you're underweight, you will gain weight, because it's getting into balance, right? It's getting into harmony. So all your organs and things are functioning and working properly. That is the whole point. But, genetics is going to basically play into how you end up looking, right? Perfectionism is not it. And then also, I've invited some folks on the summit who have written raw vegan recipe books, and they're like, oh, I'm not 100% raw anymore, so I don't think I can be in the summit. So they basically disqualified themselves. And it just blew me away, because it wasn't just one person. It was a slew of people, and it's like, this is not what this is about. Like, people are dying in the streets. We need people out here advocating for clean eating, not following a diet. Like, this is not about following a diet. This is about eating the foods that are the building blocks for our organs to function, right? The enzymes needed for catalytic, events to happen, so that, we are sleeping properly. We have one person, the spirit doctor, talking about how she overcame sleep apnea on a raw food diet. Yes, Lexi, who was depressed and dealing with generalized anxiety disorder, got reversed with a raw food diet, because food affects mood. You know what I'm saying? So this is about quality of life.
Yeah, and that quality of life can be within reach. I think for a lot of people, we've seen maybe people in our family that have been sick. We know friends that have been sick, and we almost get into this stage where it's kind of like, well, we get older and this is what happens. Or it's okay, I just take these few medicines for the rest of my life, but everyone does it. And that concept of kind of accepting the norm of being sick, or even like a little bit sick, but it's okay. I think we have to challenge that norm. We have to really help people understand that you shouldn't have to be on medicines for the rest of your life, especially for some very specific chronic diseases that many people are challenged with. There are solutions out there. There are things you can do now to even prevent that if you have seen it in your family, if you've seen many of these things around your community, and helping empower people. That's why I love that your summit has the empowerment in it. I think is really, really key. So can you just let everyone know, date when the summit it starts? Let's give them website, social media. I want to make sure that as they're hearing our discussion today and they're thinking that this is for them, they're thinking they should check it out, they're thinking, maybe I should give it a try. I want to make sure that they know how to get started and sign up.
Yes. And I also want to talk about the medicines that you brought up just now, because that's a really great point.
Mhm.
Rawfoodhealthempowermentsummit.com you can go to, and Stephanie has a link. Also, definitely make sure to use her link. But I wanted to mention, and it starts October 4th, right? It's October 4th through the
Yes.
6th. You want to make sure you register now, because every day I'll be sending out the emails with specific links to that day's um, uh, speakers. So if you are not registered in advance, you may miss a day. So you definitely don't want to miss a day. So make sure you register now. But I
And
wanted
everything's free to sign up in the beginning, right? You can just
yes,
sign up for
everything is
free, get
free.
the information. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yes,
Perfect.
it's free
Okay.
for the 3 days. So the medication thing, my grandma was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, right?
Okay.
And we had to meet with a dietitian on how she should be eating with that diagnosis. We
Okay.
literally followed to the T everything they said to do, which was following the American Diabetics Association's guidelines.
Okay.
And what we know now, after reading Dr. Neil Barnard's work and exploring plant-based nutrition, is that that diet, which was allowed for chicken, allowed for orange juice, and when orange juice is pasteurized, you basically cook the oranges, which kills all the nutritional value. So you're left basically with just sugar, right?
Yeah.
And bread, right? So she could eat
Mm-hmm.
chicken, bread, orange juice, all this stuff. Basically, everything she was eating before that got her into this
This
point, right, of
situation.
type 2
Yep.
diabetes, because it would keep her diabetic medication, the Plavix and metformin and all this stuff working at this certain level, so she could maintain or manage her diabetes. That's what people are talking about, manage diabetes. Now, why would you want to manage something you can reverse, right? And Dr. Neil Barnard's program talks about how you can reverse type 2 diabetes within 2 weeks on a plant-rich diet, on a whole food vegan diet, And I'm taking it a step further, because me personally, in my experience, when I went vegan, I gained weight.
Oh,
And
really?
yes, and it's because I did not like vegetables. And I know a lot of
Ah.
us, as kids, most of my friends when I was younger did not like vegetables. I had one strange cousin who liked vegetables and didn't like fruit. I thought he was weird, know.
Poor
But
fella.
yeah, but in order for me to get to a place where, like, even now I can eat kale without anything on it. I love kale so much, right? For me to get from that place to where I am now, I started with one step, and that was green smoothies, right?
Yeah.
And so I was able to get in greens and mask it with the fruits. And so I just want to encourage you all, like, if I could do it, definitely anybody could do it. I swore I didn't like avocado. I didn't like anything green. I didn't like celery. Now I love celery. Like, just celery juice by itself, I love it. You understand? Because your palate changes, your gut bacteria changes, the bacteria in your mouth changes. So you actually start to crave the healthy foods the more of it you eat, and your body will reject the foods that are not serving you. So, like, I love Dr. Neil Barnard's program. I love the work that he's doing. I love what he's pushing out there, because it is literally saving lives. What I'm hoping that I can do is make this message penetrate and even take it a step further, because wheat and gluten, like the wheat and the gluten we're eating right now, first of all, is not the same as it was 50 years ago. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, all of the chemicals on it, especially in our neighborhoods. So we talk about food access. We're not even talking about organic produce. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the same thing that these herbicides and pesticides are doing to these little creatures are doing to us in low doses, because we're bigger, right?
Yes.
So we're having a lot of issues with gluten, that it's getting increasingly worse for an increasing portion of the population. And so what I found with my community, and when I say my community, I'm talking about Black and brown people, I find they do really well getting rid of breads in this weight loss journey, and also with their digestion, So in this raw vegan lifestyle, there's no bread included, because it's not raw. And so there's just so many benefits, and you have nothing to lose with this free summit except just sitting and listening to people who have done it in even in situations you would never think is even possible. Like Nuru,
Yeah.
his story is amazing to me. Like he found veganism, raw veganism, and herbology while in prison. And
Wow.
we all know the prison system food is trash. It's
Yes.
trash food in there. But he managed to find a way to make it work for him. Now, like, if he could do it, you understand? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yep. You can
understand
do
people
it.
saying, "Oh, but you had a salary and you da 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 da." And there are probably some people who will watch his story and be like, "You know what? I can't." But I'm going to really encourage all of you watching to have a growth mindset with this, and
Yes.
as you're listening to all the speakers in the summit and whatever it is you're doing for anything else to try to reach a goal, is always have this question in mind: is how can this work for me? Maybe you can't do everything exactly like how someone did it. I have many people on my podcast who are, or I've had a few, not many, a few who are stay-at-home housewives. I'm not that, right? I'm running Raw
Yeah.
Food Meal Planner. I have a weekly podcast. I'm running the summit. I work full time. I volunteer. You understand? I have a very busy schedule. So
Hmm.
I'm not but I'm not a mom. Okay. But I'm not a stay-at-home mom. My time is very limited. But
Hmm.
even though these folks have a different life experience, I'm always listening and learning. How can this help me? How can this work for me so I can get to the goals I'm looking for myself, my health, my sanity? So this is what I just encourage you all to, as you go through the summit, to just have that in mind.
Now, I love that, to have an open mind, and I hope an open mind for that growth and that next kind of piece of your journey. Because I think at times sometimes we think we have it figured out. Sometimes we think, why bother with that all the other stuff? What I've been doing has gotten me here, and I'm doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think opening your mind to the idea that you can go maybe beyond okay. You can go a little bit beyond maybe what you've done in the past, and not go beyond because we're trying to give you more work, not go beyond, like you said, many of us have busy lives. We have so many people we're taking care of. There's so many responsibilities we have. But the idea is that your life, your body, all of those things, you want to preserve it. You want to keep doing what you're doing. So why not come to the summit and get an idea, get inspiration, or learn something that you can do to even incorporate. Because as you even talked about, eating kind of high raw, just starting to incorporate more raw vegetables into your diet can make a huge difference. Starting to do those morning green smoothies can really make a difference. And once you kind of open the window or crack the door in a sense on, this idea that you can empower yourself, this idea that you can take control of your health, and this idea that you can really build your own journey towards health may put you in a totally different mindset that will allow you to achieve that next thing. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people think they have to achieve it all. They have to go all raw, they have to lose all the weight, they have to do this, do that, and then they're the perfect poster person for it. And I think it's more important that you make that first step so that you can make the second step. Because until you make each one of those steps, sometimes the answer isn't completely revealed until you've made step 3 to actually see what step 4 has in store for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a process and a journey.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad we had a chance to talk about the summit. It's wonderful to hear about the speakers, the topics, that this is a summit really open to everyone and free, but at the same time, this is a summit that's also focused on that diversity, also focused on having conversations that maybe people aren't used to hearing in summits, and also this kind of opportunity to empower people into a better life and into a better health track. So, thanks for putting together the summit. Thanks for giving us a little bit of an inside glimpse to it. I'm so honored to be one of your speakers as well. So,
Yes.
thank you
Thank you
for
so much for being in
that
it.
that opportunity. And I so look forward to seeing everybody in the summit, to seeing all this great buzz that you're going to create and all this great change. So, thank you once again for putting the summit on.
Thank you. Thank you all. And I can't wait to hear your feedback.
Absolutely. It's going to be great. So definitely let us know if you have any questions in the comments. We'll definitely be checking those out. But don't forget to grab the link in the description, no matter what platform you're on. Just click on it, make sure you register early, just so you don't miss anything and miss any amazing kind of speakers that are out there. So thank you everyone who's joined us live. Thank you everyone who watches this as a replay. Even if you're coming in a little bit late, jump into the summit, because I really think there's going to be something amazing for you there. So thanks, Sam, and goodbye everyone.
Bye.